Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be talking about how we got Challenger in 179 games, all solo queue, all playing top lane with a 73.2% win rate. We're just going to go over a gameplay, basically talking through the main things that allowed me to do this so fast, and kind of a lot of the mistakes that I saw from like the Grandmaster level players. As you can see, these are my stats. We had kind of insane win rates on Gnar and Fiora, especially. Obviously, we went on a 25-game Fiora win streak. We also went on a 17-game Gnar win streak. And then just looking at the actual like record here, we can see we're top 200 Fiora and Gnar. We are 131 wins, 48 losses. So yeah, let's get right into the video. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so by the way, guys, I forgot to mention, but this took me about 8 days to go from Platinum 3 all the way up to Challenger. I played for an average of about 8 hours a day, which obviously is quite a lot. But yeah, it took about 8 days. I started in Gold, but I pushed out of Gold on my Smurf like a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and then we ended up going from Plat to Challenger in about 8 days. And yeah, now I'm just going to kind of talk again about a lot of the main mistakes I saw from Grandmaster players. I talk a lot about the mistakes I saw from lower level players in my recent videos leading up to this one, where I talk about, you know, going from different ranks to a higher rank in whatever amount of days, that type of thing. But for me, one of the biggest things that I saw, and I'm also showing you guys, by the way, the game that got me to Challenger, but a lot of the things I saw in general were really kind of related to a lack of planning. It didn't really feel like there was any necessarily, or any real purpose behind what the enemy top laner was doing, or really what the enemy in general were doing. Like, there would be so many times where it's just like, I mean, for example, this Nautilus is trading me, but I have my second ability up, and he doesn't seem to really like actually put any, and also he's playing auto stop, which is fine but weird, but he doesn't really seem to have any like actual plan behind what he's doing in his lane. He's pretty much just laning the lane. So if we look at this game, for example, my plan this game is to not trade very much because my jungle's pathing away from me and I outscale Nautilus on a side lane. So I don't need to trade until my Viego gives me a good chance to go in. So I'm going to play around my jungle really heavily. This type of planning based around jungle is, again, something that was very lacking. This Nautilus, for some reason, roams mid. Really, really bad roam to do that as a Nautilus into a Galio. Pretty unlikely you're going to kill a Galio. You don't have a lot of damage. Your Katarina doesn't have a lot of damage. And Galio's really tanky. So, again, trying to do just these random things that just don't make a lot of sense. And then he just auto-attacks me even though I'm a Fiora with second ability up. I didn't block his second ability there, which I should have. But he still loses trade super hard. He loses all of his pressure in the lane, and he's in a really bad spot now, pretty much for no reason. And obviously here then the jungle tries to gank, but we're pretty fine because, again, we were aware of the fact that their jungle can come, so we're hovering on the left side and we're making sure we don't get, you know, pushed too far up, that type of thing. So again, this is like complete lack of planning or preparation from the Nautilus means that now he's too low level and too weak to follow up on the gank from his jungler because of the fact that he made that really random rotation. So his planning did not revolve around the jungle at all, and that is a very common thing that I would see. Basically, the way that I'm going to properly plan around jungle is if I see my jungle pathing away from me, I'm probably not going to look to trade much. If I see my jungle pathing towards me, I'll trade if I'm in a winning matchup. Obviously, if I'm in a losing matchup, I'm just going to try to survive. But if I am in a winning matchup and my jungle is pathing towards me, probably going to look to trade. And then understanding the specific timers that you can actually have ganks happen on. So typically, if the enemy jungle starts on, say, their blue side, they're going to go back around 2:30-ish as a general rule. And then they're going to go back to the original side they started on around 3:45 to 4 minutes. So this is how you can kind of tell. And if they start red side, it's the same thing. You obviously just reverse it. So in this case, for example, the enemy jungle, the enemy Vi, I know started on her blue side because she ganked me right when she was level 5. Which means that now I'm really safe on this wave because the enemy jungle won't really come back to red side until 3:45, 4 minutes, sometimes even longer if they waste a lot of time on the other side of the map. And so I knew I was pretty safe there to go up, push the wave, no real risk of a gank. And if I was getting ganked, then my teammate can easily invade the blue side, or at least get a farm lead, which is all valuable information to have. And then also understanding what the champions are. So, like, again, for example here, Nautilus is obviously a champion who can CC me really easily, but I have my second ability. And Vi, same thing. So for me, really having that second ability up if I think I'm going to get ganked is generally important. And again, it's just this type of planning doesn't go into many of these lower ranked players, and they're not even low rank at this point. I mean, the Grandmaster Challenger players are who I'm playing against. I'm surprised they hit me, by the way. But we do kind of lose that trade, which is not great since we know the enemy jungle could possibly be here, but it's not really the end of the world. And then here I'm trying to greed the Scorpion if he like gives it to me, which he does for some reason. And then again, he's just using his CC into me despite me being Fiora. And then again, since we know enemy jungle could possibly be here, and then we saw him on the ward, we're hovering far to the left, so it's hard for the enemy jungle to actually close the gap on us, and trying to make sure we have our second ability to block some amount of CC, that type of thing. But you can see, I didn't really do anything crazy in this lane. This Nautilus, he played the lane very bad. I could have won trades hard, and I could have made me low health and him low health, but all that would have done was made me get ganked and die, because as we saw, Vi is obviously better at ganking than Viego. My Viego wasn't really playing around me at all, and so we just would have probably died to ganks even if we had won trades and whatever. And then what ends up happening is Nautilus decides to take a stupid rotation, where even if this fight worked for Nautilus, he loses a bunch of gold to me on the side lane, which would be very, very bad, because of the fact that I outscale him so hard on side lane. So we just be able to, like, you know, become a complete monster on side lane, get a huge gold lead. And even if he got a kill or two to his teammates, that's not going to be worth it, giving a Fiora this much gold. And this is kind of a very common thing for me. Like, I used to, when I would play Fiora, I would really try to kind of overforce early game and trade really hard because my champ was really strong early game. But I kind of realized, like, you don't actually need to do that. If the enemy don't give you good opportunities to go in, or your jungle isn't playing around you, just accept that and play slow, wait for an opportunity to show itself, like this Nautilus randomly roaming, and use that to get a lead. And all of a sudden, I'm so absurdly fed, there's not much they can do to handle me, and because of that, I go bot side since my Samir is covering mid and the top lane's already pushed. So again, I'm understanding my role in this game is to get a lot of side lane pressure, to get absurdly strong, and then scale up into the late game, and so that's kind of what I'm doing. Xayah gives me an angle to get an insane amount of damage on her because of how fed I am from the Nautilus from the Nautilus roaming and giving me the turret, and then we one-shot the Xayah there, as you can see, which leads to me just pushing and getting this entire turret. So a very common thing, again, like, just there wasn't really an understanding of where they should be or when or why or any of these things from the enemy, which leads to their Xayah being completely alone. And again, Xayah, she walks up into a level 9 Fiora as a level 7 Xayah, who is already 0-1. Of course, that's not going to work out for you. And again, these are Grandmaster level players, and there's just a complete lack of planning. I won multiple games through funny backdoors, or these types of kind of split pushes when the enemy were winning, just because of the fact that the enemy didn't understand, like, when they should be pushing out a side lane. So, like, they wouldn't push out a side lane, you know, before they do an objective, for example, or something like this. Here we end up getting our ult procced on the Nautilus. We don't quite kill him, but we do get a lot of pressure still from the side lane, poking him out and everything. So it's not a bad thing. But yeah, like, even in, like, later parts of the game, a lot of times, like, what you'll want to do is, like, let's say an objective spawning within 45 seconds, and your side laner is kind of getting destroyed, but you're doing okay in team fights. You're mostly going to want to play around the fact that you're stronger and you can have a numbers advantage on a side. Push out that side around 45 seconds, 30 seconds, so then you can rotate to the team fight for free. But if you end up kind of just playing for the fight and just hoping your side laner who's losing really hard just magically wins, a lot of times you end up just completely losing the game off that type of play, even if you were doing well, like, as an individual. So again, that's kind of where that lack of planning comes in. And again, that is really how it felt with Grandmasters, because with Masters, again, like, there was a lot of greed, and there was kind of, like, again, just a lot of kind of overforcing after they get a little bit of a lead in lane or whatever. Whereas Grandmaster players, they generally felt to understand their limits better. They wouldn't overforce as many plays. But again, that lack of planning was a really big deal. It was the biggest thing that kind of just makes these types of games super easy. Like, all I really have to do every early game is think, where's my jungle pathing? Is he pathing towards me? Is he not? What time is it that I want something to happen on? And then what can I do to make that happen? And it's really not too much more complicated than that. I ask myself those simple questions. Of course, because I understand the game quite well, I'm able to do that maybe better than the average player, since I play every role and a lot of different champions, and so I kind of know how more things function. But you can still do this And the more you do this, the more you ask yourself this, the better and better you'll get at it as well. Which of course, you know, just leads to a lot of improvement. But I would say like overall, and I'm probably going to make a more dedicated video on this. I would say overall, and also shout out to Nautilus for being a silly goose there. Appreciate you, Nautilus. I would say overall, the most important thing of top lane really is just playing based around jungle pathing. So like when the enemy jungle or your jungle is doing a certain thing, understanding the specific timers of which you can and cannot make plays. So again, I really don't want to be doing too much when the jungle's kind of pathing towards me. People always, they want to overforce, they want to get a huge lead. They're not okay with just going ahead a couple hundred gold or scaling up in a side lane. They just have to win the early game, or they feel like it's doomed. And that's just not true. I mean, even when I would play champions who are like more early game focused, like Renekton, for example, or Gnar to an extent. I mean, Gnar scales pretty well, but like still, these types of champions, you can still do the exact same things on them as well. If you don't see an opportunity to go in, it's just better to not do much. Like, which obviously is a very simple statement, but this is genuinely the biggest reason I was able to get to Challenger so fast, is because I'm never getting those games where I get put so far behind that it's unwinnable because I'm camped by the enemy jungle, because I always am doing what's guaranteed. So if I'm like, jungle could be here and I know my jungle's not there, I'm not going to do anything. But if I know my jungle is here and I know we're stronger 2v2, I'll fight. If my jungle is here but we might be weaker 2v2, I'm going to wait till I can get some type of ward before I really look to do something, or I'll wait till my jungle comes, that type of thing. And then obviously my mechanics on Fiora got better and better throughout the push, since we did end up going on a 25 game Fiora win streak at one point as well. And you know, I feel like my mechanics on her got pretty good. I kind of got pretty comfortable outplaying people on the side lane, going for a lot of those 1v1s, that type of thing. But you can see this game, for example, we've just been doing a lot of side laning because of how strong I got, and because of the fact that team fighting against Katarina Vi is generally going to be pretty hard. Nautilus even too. So it's also like the planning thing relates to understanding your strengths as a champion as well. Like my champion, I generally want to team fight a lot less compared to someone like Nautilus or even any really tank. And so I'm only going to fight when I see like a good opportunity to one-shot someone like this Vi there, where obviously she's overextending, so I'm going to one-shot her. But then once I'm able to get strong enough on the side lane through pushing, again, turrets and getting all of my waves pushed out, getting the turrets, I'm then going to switch into wanting to side lane on the same side of whatever objective is up, because of the fact that I don't want my team to team fight without me once I get to a certain strength. So like Fiora is a fine team fighter once you get strong enough. And so if I'm able to hit those certain power spikes, get really strong, I'll recall and I'll eventually hover more mid top side, which is what you see here, where I got my Sterix. And so now that I hit my Sterix, I know that I can now group with my team, and I have that additional durability, I have that extra damage, and I'm really going to be able to pop off if a fight does happen. So you see, I kind of use the side lane as a means to get to my certain power spikes, to get to my strengths. And then once I do view my strengths as strong enough, I'll now look to switch into a more, you know, team-centric role of going mid and going top, playing around the Baron. And then here we end up pressuring mid, because we know the enemy are kind of over grouping around the Baron. And so also just grabbing that pressure, like you can see that I am putting myself in a position to fight with my team, but I'm not just gonna like start the fights and just hover with them 24/7. I'm sort of at a distance, but I'm at a distance only to the extent that I can still come and group with my team in time, and then we're gonna one-shot this Vi and then flash out. Because again, I know I hit my power spike where I'm absurdly fed at that point. I couldn't do that to Vi, which is, you know, completely one-shot her, even when I messed up my W where I didn't stun her when I should have. Even messing that up, I'm able to one-shot her because I'm so fed. And just, again, understanding those specific power spikes you're hitting that lead to you being strong enough, and then having that plan around what I want to do, which, again, for me, it was get that pressure on a lane or on a wave that's close to the Baron rather than on the side lane now. That way I can still team fight if my team ends up, you know, going into a full-out, you know, 5v5 fight around the Baron. And if my team doesn't really, you know, do much, I don't need to go there right away. I can just keep covering the mid wave and pressuring the mid wave, and again getting that turret, getting that one shot on the Vi. And then again, even here we're doing Baron, I'm thinking I need to find Vi so that we don't get you know, the Baron stolen. And so I immediately, you can see, just I walk up and I go look on the Vi so that she can't do anything. And then we're able to just easily go on her and kill her. Like, again, I understand how can we lose this game. It's through losing Baron to a steal. So I'm going to go in zone. I'm not just going to go flip a 50-50 when we're winning the game. That's very, very important. A couple other common mistakes I noticed. Every jungle goes for Dragon for some reason. Even when I'm stomping lane as a Baron laner, they're going to go for Dragon instead of Herald. Very, very big mistake. Definitely need to go for Herald when your Baron laner is stomping. Makes it a lot easier to win the game. Such is another thing. Again, just kind of mentioning all the mistakes, all the things that we saw Grandmaster level players doing. I had some Challengers and even some Sovereigns once I got... Because I did play a couple games in Challenger at this point now. And I see the same mistakes even with them. But yeah. That is kind of a really big thing for a jungler as well. So again, to reiterate, obviously we've been talking about it a lot because that is typically how my videos go. I like to focus on one really specific thing. So you guys, if you feel like that's something you can improve on, you can just understand exactly how that kind of fits throughout the game and how to get better at that specific thing. And then, you know, you watch a different video, you get better at a different thing. But for this video, it really is, again, the planning stuff that we saw is very, very lacking in Grandmasters. They're not understanding jungle pathing well enough to play around it and to trade around it and to understand which timers they want to trade on, which timers they want to set up ganks on, which timers they want to recall on. All those different things just generally are, again, pretty lacking. And then just not playing around your strengths or having plans based around later objectives, like not wanting to you know, not understanding when you should be just grouping 5v5, not understanding when to go side lane, when to kind of just pressure a lane and maybe look for a flank, or how to even team fight against certain champions. So like, you know, people not saving their CC for a Samira, for example. Like, I'm not saying this game specifically, but I mean, my Samira doesn't have QSS and she's still just not really getting punished for that. That type of thing. But here you can see, obviously, we didn't have actually an insane amount of kills in this game. A lot of games, a lot of my pressure isn't even from, you know, killing 45 people. Sometimes I would get a bunch of kills, but a lot of games we just get that constant pressure on the side lane. The game progresses naturally. Sometimes my teammates are doing well like this game. Other games, they're not doing as well, and then I have to carry a bit harder. But as a whole, that was how we got Challenger, was through this final game with, again, a 73% win rate. I have a lot of guides on my YouTube channel. I do coaching for $25 an hour. Again, I've been a rank 1 solo queue. Obviously, just did this as well now. So can definitely help you guys out in terms of climbing, in terms of understanding the game better. So if you're interested, just DM me on Discord, Town1169, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.